Community ecology. Community ecology is a subfield of ecology that studies the interactions between populations of different species living together in the same geographic area. It focuses on the structure and organization of ecological communities, and the processes that influence their diversity, stability, and functioning. Ecological communities are composed of different species that interact with each other in various ways. The interactions between species can be classified into several categories, including competition, predation, herbivora, mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. Competition is an interaction between individuals or species that depend on the same resources, such as food, water, or shelter. This can occur between individuals of the same species interspecific competition or different species interspecific competition. For example, different species of birds competing for the same nesting sites or different species of plants competing for the same sunlight, nutrients, and water. Predation is an interaction between two species where one species, the predator, kills and eats the other species, the prey. This interaction can have a significant impact on the population dynamics of both species. For example, a lion hunting a zebra, or a hawk catching a mouse. Herbivora is a type of predation where animals eat plants. This interaction can also have a significant impact on the population dynamics of both the herbivore and the plant. For example, deer grazing on grass or rabbits feeding on leaves. Mutualism is an interaction between two species where both species benefit from the relationship. For example, pollination, where a bee visits a flower and collects nectar, while also transferring pollen from one flower to another. The bee benefits from the nectar, while the plant benefits from the pollination. Commensalism is an interaction between two species where one species benefits, and the other is neither helped nor harmed. For example, birds nesting in trees or barnacles attaching themselves to whales. Parasitism is an interaction between two species where one species, the parasite, benefits at the expense of the other species, the host. This interaction can have a significant impact on the health and fitness of the host. For example, ticks feeding on the blood of mammals, or tapeworms living in the intestines of animals. The importance of understanding species interactions in community ecology lies in the fact that these interactions can have significant effects on the structure, function, and dynamics of ecological communities. For example, competition can limit the distribution and abundance of species, while predation can regulate the populations of prey species. Mutualism can promote the coexistence of species, while parasitism can affect the health and survival of hosts. By studying these interactions, ecologists can gain insights into the organization and functioning of ecological communities and develop strategies for conservation and management of biodiversity. Nature of communities in detail with multiple examples and importance. In ecology, a community refers to a group of interacting species that inhabit a particular area or ecosystem. Communities are characterized by the species composition, abundance, diversity, and their interactions. The nature of communities can vary widely depending on several factors such as physical environment, disturbance regime, and biotic interactions. Some examples of communities include a coral reef community, a temperate forest community, a grassland community, and a freshwater pond community. Each community is characterized by a unique set of organisms that interact with one another in various ways. The importance of studying community ecology lies in the fact that communities play a crucial role in maintaining the functioning of ecosystems. The interactions between species within a community can have cascading effects on other trophic levels and can influence nutrient cycling, primary productivity, and ecosystem stability. For example, in a coral reef community, the interactions between coral and algae are crucial for the growth and survival of both species. The algae provide photosynthesis to the coral, while the coral provides a substrate for the algae to grow on. Additionally, the presence of predators such as groupers and snappers can regulate the population of herbivores such as parrotfishes, which in turn can regulate the growth of algae on the reef. Similarly, in a temperate forest community, interactions between trees, herbivores, and decomposers can have significant impacts on nutrient cycling and carbon storage. Trees compete for resources such as light, water, and nutrients, while herbivores can limit the growth of certain tree species by consuming their leaves and twigs. Decomposers such as fungi and bacteria are important for breaking down dead organic matter and returning nutrients to the soil. Overall, understanding the nature of communities is critical for understanding how ecosystems function and how they may respond to environmental change. By studying the species composition and interactions within a community, ecologists can better predict the consequences of disturbances such as climate change, habitat loss, and invasive species on ecosystem health and resilience. Characteristics of a biotic community in detail with multiple examples and importance. A biotic community refers to a group of populations of different species that occupy a particular geographic area and interact with each other. The characteristics of a biotic community include species diversity. The number of different species present in a community is known as species diversity. A community with high species diversity is considered to be healthier and more stable than a community with low species diversity. For example, the coral reef ecosystem has a high species diversity, with many different types of fish, corals, and other invertebrates. Trophic structure. The trophic structure of a community refers to the feeding relationships between the different species present in the community. This includes producers, consumers, and decomposers. For example, a forest ecosystem has a trophic structure that includes trees as producers, herbivores such as deer and rabbits as primary consumers, and carnivores such as wolves and bears as secondary consumers. Succession. Succession refers to the gradual change in the species composition of a community over time. This can occur as a result of natural disturbances such as fires or as a result of human activities such as deforestation. For example, a grassland ecosystem may undergo succession over time and eventually become a forest ecosystem. Abiotic factors. The abiotic factors in a community include the non-living components of the environment, such as temperature, water availability, and soil nutrients. These abiotic factors can have a significant impact on the species composition and overall health of a community. For example, a wetland ecosystem has high water availability, which allows for the growth of aquatic plants and supports a diverse community of waterfowl and other aquatic animals. Interactions between species. The interactions between different species in a community can be positive, negative, or neutral. These interactions can include competition for resources, predation, mutualism, and commensalism. For example, in a coral reef ecosystem, the symbiotic relationship between corals and algae is critical for the survival of both species. The importance of understanding the characteristics of a biotic community lies in the fact that it can help us understand how different species interact with each other and how the community as a whole functions. This information is crucial for conservation efforts and for managing ecosystems to maintain their health and productivity. By understanding the characteristics of a biotic community, we can work towards ensuring that ecosystems are sustainable and can continue to provide essential services such as clean air and water, food, and other resources. Species diversity in detail with multiple examples and importance. Species diversity refers to the variety of species within a particular ecosystem or geographical area. It includes both the number of species and the relative abundance of each species. Species diversity is an important measure of the health and resilience of an ecosystem, as it is closely linked to ecosystem function and productivity. There are several different measures of species diversity, including species richness, evenness, and diversity indices such as the Simpson Index and the Shannon Index. Species richness refers to the total number of species present in a particular area or ecosystem. Evenness refers to the relative abundance of each species, or how evenly distributed the species are within the community. Diversity indices take into account both species richness and evenness, providing a more comprehensive measure of species diversity. Importance of species diversity. Ecosystem stability. Species diversity is essential for the stability and resilience of ecosystems. A diverse community is better able to withstand environmental changes, such as climate fluctuations, invasive species, and human disturbance. Ecosystem functioning. The presence of different species in an ecosystem contributes to the functioning of the ecosystem, such as nutrient cycling, pollination, and seed dispersal. Economic importance. Species diversity is important for economic activities such as agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. Many of these activities depend on the biodiversity of ecosystems, which provides the raw materials and resources needed for human well-being. Aesthetic and recreational value. Species diversity also provides aesthetic and recreational value, such as nature-based tourism, bird watching, and outdoor activities. Examples of species diversity. Tropical rainforests. Tropical rainforests are one of the most species-rich ecosystems on Earth, with thousands of species of plants, insects, birds, and mammals. The high species diversity is due to the stable climate, high rainfall, and complex structure of the forest. Coral reefs. Coral reefs are also highly diverse ecosystems, with thousands of species of fish, invertebrates, and plants. The diversity of coral reefs is due to the complex interactions between different species and the unique physical structure of the reefs. Grasslands. Grasslands are another example of a diverse ecosystem, with a range of grasses, shrubs, and trees, as well as a variety of grazers, browsers, and predators. The diversity of grasslands is influenced by fire, grazing, and other disturbances. Urban ecosystems. Urban ecosystems are often thought of as being low in species diversity, but they can still support a range of plant and animal species, including birds, insects, and small mammals. Urban ecosystems are shaped by human activities, such as landscaping and land use, which can affect the diversity of species present. Latitudinal gradients in diversity in detail with multiple examples and importance. Latitudinal gradients in diversity refer to the pattern of species richness observed in different latitudes around the world. The trend typically shows an increase in species diversity at the equator, with a decrease towards the poles. This phenomenon has been observed across various taxa, including plants, animals, and microorganisms. One of the most notable examples of latitudinal gradients in diversity is the diversity of bird species in South America. The Amazon rainforest is home to over 1,500 bird species, while North America, which spans a similar latitude range, has around 900 bird species. This pattern has been observed across multiple taxa, including butterflies, mammals, and reptiles. The causes of latitudinal gradients in diversity are complex and are still not fully understood. However, several hypotheses have been proposed to explain this phenomenon. One of the most prominent theories is the Aouro energy hypothesis, Aouro, which suggests that species diversity is influenced by solar radiation and temperature. The equator receives more solar radiation than the poles, which results in higher productivity and more opportunities for species diversification. Another theory is the Aouro-climate stability hypothesis, Aouro, which proposes that species diversity is influenced by the stability of climate. Tropical regions tend to have relatively stable climates, with consistent rainfall and temperatures, which provides stable habitats and niche opportunities for species to evolve and diversify. In contrast, temperate regions are characterized by more variable climates, which may limit the evolution and diversification of species. Latitudinal gradients in diversity are important because they have implications for conservation and management of biodiversity. Areas of high species diversity, such as tropical rainforests, are often targeted for conservation efforts because of their high biodiversity value. Understanding the causes of latitudinal gradients in diversity can also help inform conservation strategies and predict how biodiversity may be affected by climate change and other environmental factors. Edges and ecotones explanation in detail with multiple examples and importance. Edges and ecotones are important concepts in ecology that refer to the transition zones between two or more distinct ecosystems or habitats. An edge is the boundary zone between two habitats or ecosystems where they meet and interact with each other. It can be a sharp or gradual transition zone depending on the type and characteristics of the habitats involved. An example of an edge is a boundary between a forest and a grassland or between a freshwater and marine ecosystem. Ecotones, on the other hand, are transitional zones between two or more distinct ecosystems or habitats. They are characterized by a mixture of species from both ecosystems and may have unique physical and biological properties compared to the adjacent ecosystems. Ecotones are important because they support a high diversity of species and can act as corridors for the movement of organisms between different habitats. Examples of ecotones include the transition zone between a forest and a wetland, or between a savanna and a desert. Edges and ecotones are important because they provide a unique habitat that supports a diverse array of species, many of which may not be found in either of the adjacent ecosystems. These areas may also have unique environmental conditions, such as temperature, light, and moisture levels, which can create a range of microhabitats that support different plant and animal species. Edges and ecotones can also act as buffers, protecting the adjacent ecosystems from disturbances, such as fires or storms. In addition, edges and ecotones are important for conservation because they often harbor species that are sensitive to changes in their environment. For example, birds that nest in the forest edge may be more vulnerable to habitat fragmentation and loss than birds that nest deep in the forest. Understanding the characteristics of edges and ecotones can help conservationists identify areas that are critical for maintaining biodiversity and preserving important ecological processes. Overall, edges and ecotones are important components of the landscape that support a high diversity of species and provide critical ecosystem services. Their unique characteristics make them valuable for conservation and management efforts, and their study is essential for understanding the dynamics and functioning of ecosystems. Ecological succession types with examples. Ecological succession refers to the gradual process of change in the composition of species in an ecosystem over time. There are two types of ecological succession: primary succession and secondary succession. Primary succession. Primary succession occurs in a newly formed or barren habitat where there is no pre-existing soil or vegetation. The process begins with the colonization of the area by pioneer species, such as lichens and mosses, that are capable of surviving in harsh conditions. These pioneer species modify the environment by breaking down rocks and organic matter, which leads to the formation of soil. As the soil develops, more complex plant species begin to colonize the area, which in turn attracts other organisms such as insects, birds, and mammals. Over time, the community becomes more diverse and stable. Examples of primary succession include the colonization of volcanic islands and the retreat of glaciers. Secondary succession. Secondary succession occurs in areas where an existing community has been disturbed or destroyed, but the soil remains intact. The process begins with the regrowth of the vegetation that was present before the disturbance. The initial colonizers are typically fast-growing and opportunistic species such as grasses and shrubs. As these species grow and reproduce, they begin to modify the environment, making it more suitable for other species to colonize. Over time, the community becomes more complex and diverse. Examples of secondary succession include forest regrowth after a fire or the recolonization of abandoned farmland. Both primary and secondary successions are important ecological processes that allow for the establishment and maintenance of diverse and stable ecosystems. They play a crucial role in shaping the structure and function of ecosystems, as well as in the provision of ecosystem services such as carbon sequestration and habitat provision. Mechanism of ecological succession. Ecological succession is a process of change in the composition of species and community structure over time in a particular area. Succession may occur due to natural disturbances like forest fires, volcanic eruptions, or human disturbances like clear-cutting or deforestation. There are two primary mechanisms of ecological succession. Primary succession. Primary succession occurs in a newly formed area or a place where there was no previous community, such as a newly formed volcanic island or a glacier retreat. In such a situation, the first colonizers of the area are usually pioneer species like lichens, mosses, and algae. These species are adapted to survive in harsh environmental conditions and have the ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen. The pioneer species gradually modify the environment by breaking down rocks and organic matter, thus creating soil that can support more complex organisms like grasses, shrubs, and trees. As the soil becomes more developed, the pioneer species are replaced by a more diverse and complex community, which in turn is replaced by other species until a stable climax community is established. Example: the colonization of bare rock by lichens and mosses in the aftermath of a volcanic eruption. Secondary succession. Secondary succession occurs in an area where there has been a disturbance that has removed the existing community, but the soil remains intact. Examples of disturbances that lead to secondary succession include forest fires, hurricanes, and logging. In such a situation, the process of succession is much faster than in primary succession because the soil is already present and contains nutrients necessary for the growth of plants. The first colonizers in secondary succession are usually fast-growing species like grasses and annual plants. These species create a new environment by adding organic matter to the soil and providing shade and shelter for other organisms. As the environment becomes more complex, the initial colonizers are replaced by other species until a climax community is established. Example: the regrowth of a forest after clear cutting or after a forest fire. Overall, ecological succession is a natural process that plays a vital role in shaping the structure and composition of biological communities. The mechanism of ecological succession helps us to understand how communities change over time and adapt to different environmental conditions. Ecological succession process steps with multiple examples. Ecological succession refers to the gradual change in species composition and community structure over time in an ecosystem. It occurs as a result of various biotic and abiotic factors such as natural disasters, human intervention, and climatic changes. The process of ecological succession is classified into two types: primary and secondary succession. Primary succession is the process of plant and animal colonization of a barren area that has never been inhabited before. It starts with the colonization of pioneer species such as lichens and mosses. These species grow on the surface of bare rock or soil, breaking it down to form a layer of organic matter. This layer of organic matter provides the basis for the growth of larger plants such as grasses and shrubs, which in turn provide habitats for animals. Over time, the community structure changes as different species colonize the area, leading to a stable ecosystem. An example of primary succession is the colonization of a volcanic island or a newly formed sand dune. In the case of volcanic islands, the first species to colonize the area are usually lichens and mosses, followed by ferns and grasses. As the soil becomes more fertile, trees and shrubs begin to grow, and eventually, a forest ecosystem is established. Secondary succession is the process of plant and animal colonization of an area that has been disturbed or disrupted by natural or human-caused events such as fires, floods, or deforestation. Unlike primary succession, secondary succession starts with the colonization of fast-growing, weedy species that are capable of growing in disturbed habitats. These species are usually annuals or perennials that have a high rate of reproduction and seed dispersal. As these species grow and reproduce, they create a layer of organic matter that improves soil fertility and creates favorable conditions for the growth of other plant species. An example of secondary succession is the regrowth of a forest after a fire. The first species to colonize the area are usually fast-growing annuals such as grasses and herbs. As these species grow and reproduce, they create favorable conditions for the growth of other plant species such as shrubs and trees. Over time, the community structure changes, and the ecosystem becomes more complex and diverse. In both primary and secondary succession, the process of ecological succession is driven by a complex interaction of biotic and abiotic factors. These factors include soil characteristics, climate, topography, and the presence of other organisms. The process of ecological succession is critical for the maintenance of biodiversity and ecosystem function, and understanding its mechanisms and steps is essential for effective conservation and management of natural resources. Changes involved in succession. Ecological succession involves a series of changes that occur in an ecosystem over time. These changes can be divided into several stages, each characterized by different species and ecosystem processes. The following are some of the changes involved in ecological succession. Soil formation. In primary succession, the first stage involves the formation of soil from bare rock. Over time, lichens and other pioneer species break down the rock into small particles, creating soil. Pioneer species. Pioneer species are the first organisms to colonize a new area. These may include lichens, mosses, and ferns. Pioneer species help to create a suitable environment for other plants to grow by adding organic matter to the soil and retaining moisture. Early successional species. As the ecosystem develops, early successional species begin to appear. These may include grasses, shrubs, and small trees. These species can tolerate the harsh conditions of the new environment and are adapted to grow quickly. Mid-successional species. As the ecosystem becomes more established, mid-successional species begin to appear. These may include larger trees, which create shade and shelter for other species. Late successional species. Late successional species are the final stage of succession. These species are typically large, long-lived trees that dominate the ecosystem. They are well adapted to the mature environment and are not usually replaced by other species. Changes in ecosystem processes. As the ecosystem changes, there are also changes in the way that nutrients and energy are cycled. For example, early in succession, the primary source of nutrients may be nitrogen fixation by bacteria. Later in succession, nutrient cycling may be dominated by decomposition of dead plant material. Changes in biodiversity. Ecological succession leads to an increase in biodiversity as new species colonize the area. As the ecosystem becomes more complex, there are more opportunities for different species to occupy different niches. Climax community. The final stage of ecological succession is the climax community, which is a stable, self-sustaining community that remains until it is disturbed by some external factor. The climax community is typically dominated by a few species that are well adapted to the environment. Overall, ecological succession is a complex process that involves many changes in the ecosystem over time. These changes lead to an increase in biodiversity and the development of a stable, self-sustaining community. Concept of climax in detail with examples and theories. The concept of climax refers to the theoretical endpoint of ecological succession, where the community reaches a stable state and remains relatively constant in species composition and ecosystem function. The climax community is characterized by a balance between the biotic and abiotic factors of the ecosystem. The idea of a climax community was first proposed by Frederick Clements in 1916, who suggested that communities progress towards a predictable, final stage of development. However, the concept has been contested, and there is now an understanding that climax communities are not always predictable or stable. There are several theories on the concept of climax. The classical theory of climax suggests that the climax community is a stable endpoint of succession and represents the ideal state of the ecosystem. According to this theory, the climax community is resistant to further change, and any disturbance will return the community to its original state. This theory assumes that the ecosystem is self-regulating and tends towards equilibrium. Another theory of climax is the individualistic hypothesis, which suggests that there is no universal climax community and that the endpoint of succession depends on the characteristics of the site and the interactions between species. This theory argues that ecological succession is not a predictable process, and the endpoint is a result of the historical contingencies of the site. The intermediate disturbance hypothesis proposes that disturbance can promote biodiversity and maintain ecosystems at a state of moderate instability. According to this theory, intermediate levels of disturbance prevent dominant species from excluding less competitive species, leading to increased species diversity. Examples of climax communities include old-growth forests, coral reefs, and tundra ecosystems. However, many ecosystems do not have a stable climax community, as disturbances and environmental changes can alter the species composition and ecosystem function. In conclusion, the concept of climax community represents the theoretical endpoint of ecological succession, where the community reaches a stable state and remains relatively constant in species composition and ecosystem function. The concept has been contested, and there are several theories on the endpoint of ecological succession. While some ecosystems have stable climax communities, many do not, as disturbances and environmental changes can alter the species composition and ecosystem function. Concept of climax in detail with examples and theories. The concept of climax refers to a theoretical endpoint or a stage of ecological succession where the vegetation and animal communities have reached a stable equilibrium with their physical environment. In other words, it is the final stage of succession where the species composition and structure of the community remain relatively constant, and there is little change in the physical environment. The concept of climax was first introduced by Frederick Clements in the early 20th century, and it has been a central idea in ecology since then. The theory of climax suggests that each region or ecosystem has a specific climax community that is determined by the prevailing physical conditions of the environment, such as temperature, precipitation, soil type, and topography. The climax community is said to represent the highest level of organization and productivity that the ecosystem can support, given the limiting factors. For example, in a tropical rainforest, the climax community may be dominated by tall trees with dense canopies that provide shade and moisture for an understory of ferns, shrubs, and small trees. However, the concept of climax has been challenged by several ecologists who argue that ecosystems are dynamic and constantly changing, and there may not be a fixed endpoint or equilibrium state. This view is known as the non-equilibrium theory of ecosystems, which suggests that disturbances such as fires, floods, and human activities can reset the successional process and prevent the development of a stable climax community. Instead, the community may exist in a state of constant flux and change, with different species dominating at different times. Despite these criticisms, the concept of climax remains a useful tool for understanding the long-term dynamics of ecosystems and the interactions between biotic and abiotic factors. It can help us predict how ecosystems may respond to environmental changes and human activities, and guide management and conservation efforts. Biogeography. Biogeography is a field of study that focuses on the distribution of living organisms across space and time. It examines how physical and biological factors interact to shape the distribution and diversity of life on Earth. Biogeography can be studied at different scales, from the global patterns of biodiversity to the distribution of species within a particular habitat. It is an interdisciplinary field that draws on concepts and methods from geography, geology, biology, and ecology. The study of biogeography is important for understanding the processes that have shaped the Earth's biota, including the evolution of species, the formation of biotic communities, and the impacts of climate change and human activities on biodiversity. Biogeographers use a variety of methods and tools to investigate biotic patterns and processes, including GIS, geographic information systems, molecular biology, phylogenetics, and paleontology. Some key concepts and theories in biogeography include dispersal, the movement of organisms from one geographic location to another. Dispersal can occur by various means, including wind, water, or by hitching a ride on other organisms. Vicariance, the splitting of a formerly continuous biota by a physical or geological barrier. This can lead to the development of distinct biotic regions or provinces. Island biogeography, the study of the factors that influence the biodiversity of islands. Islands provide natural experiments for studying biotic colonization, extinction, and evolution. Continental drift, the movement of continents over time due to plate tectonics. This has had a major impact on the evolution and distribution of life on Earth. Ecological niche, the role of a species within an ecosystem, including its interactions with other species and its use of resources. The niche concept helps to explain why certain species are found in certain places. Biogeographic realms, large geographic regions with distinct biotas, based on similarities in flora and fauna. The biogeographic realms provide a way to classify the Earth's biotic diversity into discrete regions. Biogeographic history, the evolutionary history of a biota, including its origin, diversification, and extinction. By studying biogeographic history, biogeographers can infer how biotic patterns and processes have been shaped over time. Examples of biogeographic phenomena include the distribution of marsupials in Australia, the adaptive radiation of Darwin's finches in the Galapagos Islands, and the biotic provinces of North America. Biogeographic research is also important for understanding the impacts of climate change on biodiversity, and for identifying areas of high conservation priority. Major terrestrial biomes. The major terrestrial biomes are large ecological areas on Earth characterized by their climate, vegetation, and animal life. The distribution of biomes is determined by climate, with temperature and precipitation being the most important factors. The major terrestrial biomes include tropical rainforest. These are found near the equator and have high precipitation and temperatures year-round. They have the greatest biodiversity of all biomes. Temperate deciduous forest. These are found in areas with moderate temperatures and rainfall. They are characterized by trees that lose their leaves in the fall. Temperate grasslands. These are found in areas with moderate temperatures and low rainfall. They are characterized by tall grasses. Desert. These are found in areas with low rainfall and high temperatures. They have very little vegetation and are adapted to arid conditions. Tundra. These are found in the far northern regions of the world and have long, cold winters and short summers. They have low vegetation and are adapted to harsh conditions. Taiga boreal forests. These are found in the subarctic regions of the world and have long, cold winters and short summers. They are characterized by coniferous trees. Savanna. These are found in areas with a tropical climate and moderate rainfall. They are characterized by tall grasses and scattered trees. Chaparral. These are found in areas with a Mediterranean climate, with hot, dry summers and cool, wet winters. They are characterized by shrubs and small trees. Each biome has its own unique characteristics, but they all play important roles in the Earth's ecosystems and have a significant impact on global biodiversity and climate. Tropical rainforest climate, temperature, rainfall, altitude, longitude, peculiarities, important and endemic organisms and importance. Tropical rainforests are found in the equatorial region and are characterized by warm and humid conditions. The climate is typically tropical, with temperatures ranging from 28 degrees C to 38 degrees C and high rainfall throughout the year, typically exceeding 250 centimeters annually. Altitude and longitude can have an impact on the specific characteristics of a tropical rainforest. For example, lower elevation areas may have more moisture and higher species diversity than higher elevation areas. Tropical rainforests are found in Central and South America, West and Central Africa, Southeast Asia, and parts of Australia. Tropical rainforests are characterized by their high levels of biodiversity and endemism. They contain a vast array of plant and animal species, many of which are found nowhere else on Earth. Some important organisms found in tropical rainforests include toucans, monkeys, sloths, jaguars, and a variety of birds, insects, and reptiles. Many medicinal plants are also found in tropical rainforests, providing important resources for traditional medicine. Despite their importance in terms of biodiversity, tropical rainforests are under threat due to deforestation, agriculture, and urbanization. These activities are leading to the loss of habitat and the extinction of many plant and animal species. Additionally, tropical rainforests play an important role in regulating the Earth's climate by storing carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen, making their preservation crucial for the health of the planet. Tropical rainforest climate, temperature, rainfall, altitude, longitude, peculiarities, important and endemic organisms and importance endemic animals and birds in detail. Tropical rainforests are characterized by hot, humid climates with high levels of rainfall and are located near the equator. The temperature in tropical rainforests typically ranges from 20 to 34 degrees Celsius. The amount of rainfall can vary, but it is generally around 2,000 to 10,000 millimeters per year. Altitude and longitude also play a role in the climate of tropical rainforests, with variations based on a specific location. Tropical rainforests are known for their biodiversity, and many species of animals and birds are endemic, meaning they are found only in this type of habitat. Some of the important endemic animals in tropical rainforests include orangutan. These primates are native to the rainforests of Indonesia and Malaysia, and are highly endangered due to habitat loss and hunting. Jaguar. These large cats are found in the rainforests of Central and South America, and are apex predators in their ecosystems. Toucan. These brightly colored birds are known for their large, colorful beaks, and are found in the rainforests of Central and South America. Tree kangaroo. These marsupials are found only in the rainforests of Papua New Guinea and northeastern Australia, and are adapted to life in the trees. Poison dart frog. These brightly colored frogs are found in the rainforests of Central and South America, and are known for their toxic skin secretions. The importance of these endemic animals and birds lies in their role in maintaining the delicate balance of the rainforest ecosystem. They play important roles as pollinators, seed dispersers, and predators, and their loss could have significant impacts on the health of the ecosystem as a whole. Additionally, tropical rainforests are important for carbon sequestration, and their destruction contributes to climate change. Conservation efforts to protect these unique habitats and the species that call them home are crucial for maintaining the health of the planet. Grassland climate, temperature, rainfall, altitude, longitude, peculiarities, important and endemic organisms and importance. Grasslands, also known as prairies, pampas, savannas, and steppes, are large expanses of land covered in grasses and herbs with few or no trees. They are found in the interiors of continents where there is not enough rainfall to support forests but are wetter than deserts. Climate, grasslands have hot summers and cold winters, with a rainfall between 25 and 75 centimeters per year. The temperatures can range from below freezing in the winter to over 38 degrees Celsius in the summer. Altitude, grasslands can be found at different elevations, ranging from sea level to 3,500 meters. Longitude, grasslands are found at different longitudes and are often found in the middle of continents. Peculiarities, grasslands have a distinct soil type that is rich in nutrients and organic matter, which makes it ideal for grazing animals. The lack of trees means that wildfires are common and can help to maintain the grasslands by removing dead plant material and promoting new growth. Important and endemic organisms, the grasses and herbs of the grassland support a variety of large herbivores such as bison, antelope, zebras, and wildebeest, which in turn support large predators such as lions and wolves. Some endemic species of grassland include the prairie dog, bison, and the black-footed ferret. Importance, grasslands are important for agriculture and support the production of food and fiber for humans. They are also important for wildlife habitat and conservation. The deep root systems of the grasses help to prevent soil erosion and promote the retention of water in the soil. Additionally, grasslands are a significant source of carbon storage, helping to mitigate the effects of climate change. Desert climate, temperature, rainfall, altitude, longitude, peculiarities, important and endemic organisms and importance. Deserts are defined as regions that receive less than 10 inches 25 centimeters of precipitation annually. They are characterized by aridity, with water being the most limiting factor for plant growth and development. Deserts can be found in all continents except Europe, and they cover approximately 1/5 of the Earth's surface. Climate. Deserts are characterized by hot temperatures during the day and cold temperatures at night. During the day, temperatures can reach up to 108 degrees F, 38 degrees C, or higher, while at night they can drop to as low as 48 degrees F, 48 degrees C, or even lower. The extreme temperature fluctuations are due to the lack of moisture in the air, which allows for rapid heat dissipation at night. Precipitation in deserts is sparse and irregular, with some deserts receiving no rainfall for years. Peculiarities. Deserts have unique physical and biological characteristics that allow for the survival of organisms in harsh conditions. Some of the notable features of desert ecosystems include xerophytic adaptations in plants, such as small leaves or no leaves, deep roots, and succulent stems. Ephemeral plants that complete their life cycle quickly after rainfall. Animals that are adapted to water conservation, such as kangaroo rats and camels. Large temperature fluctuations between day and night. Important and endemic organisms. Deserts support a variety of plant and animal species, some of which are endemic to these ecosystems. Some examples of important and endemic organisms in deserts include cacti, such as the saguaro cactus and the prickly pear cactus. Succulent plants, such as aloe vera and agave. Desert-adapted animals, such as the desert tortoise, Gila monster, and rattlesnakes. Birds, such as the roadrunner and the cactus wren. Importance. Deserts are important ecosystems because they provide habitat for a variety of unique plant and animal species. They are also important for their role in regulating the Earth's climate, as they absorb and reflect solar radiation. Deserts also have cultural significance, as they have been inhabited by humans for thousands of years and are home to many indigenous communities. However, desertification due to human activities, such as overgrazing and land use change, is a growing concern and threatens the ecological integrity of these ecosystems. Chaparral climate, temperature, rainfall, altitude, longitude, peculiarities, important and endemic organisms and importance essay. Chaparral, also known as Mediterranean shrubland or sclerophyllous shrubland, is a biome characterized by its hot and dry summers, mild and wet winters, and its dominance of shrubs with hard, evergreen leaves. It is found in areas with a Mediterranean climate, such as parts of California, Chile, Australia, and the Mediterranean basin. Climate. The climate of the chaparral biome is characterized by mild and wet winters, and hot and dry summers. The average temperature in the summer ranges from 30 to 108 degree Fa, 1 to 38 degree C, while in the winter it ranges from 30 to 68 degree Fa, 1 to 16 degree C. The chaparral biome receives an average rainfall of 30 to 40 inches, 75 to 100 centimeters per year, with the majority of the precipitation occurring during the winter months. Peculiarities. One of the main characteristics of the chaparral biome is the dominance of shrubs with hard, evergreen leaves. These shrubs have adapted to the hot and dry summers by developing thick, waxy leaves that help to reduce water loss through transpiration. Additionally, many of the plants in the chaparral biome have adapted to the periodic fires that occur in the region. These plants have developed thick bark and underground storage structures to help them survive and quickly regenerate after a fire. Important and endemic organisms. The chaparral biome is home to a wide variety of plant and animal species, many of which are endemic to the region. Some of the important and endemic plant species in the chaparral biome include manzanita, chamise, ceanothus, and toyon. These plants provide important habitat and food sources for the endemic animal species in the region, such as the California gnatcatcher, the western fence lizard, and the black-tailed deer. Importance. The chaparral biome provides important ecosystem services, such as soil stabilization, water regulation, and carbon sequestration. The dense vegetation in the chaparral biome helps to reduce soil erosion and protect against landslides, while the roots of the plants help to absorb and store water, which can be released during dry periods. Additionally, the chaparral biome plays an important role in storing carbon, which helps to mitigate the impacts of climate change. In conclusion, the chaparral biome is a unique and important ecosystem that is found in regions with a Mediterranean climate. Its dominance of shrubs with hard, evergreen leaves, as well as its adaptations to periodic fires, make it a fascinating biome to study. The important and endemic plant and animal species in the region, as well as its ecosystem services, make it an important biome to protect and conserve. Temperate deciduous forest climate, temperature, rainfall, altitude, longitude, peculiarities, important and endemic organisms and importance. Temperate deciduous forests are a type of biome that is characterized by trees that shed their leaves annually in response to seasonal changes. These forests are found in regions with a temperate climate and moderate rainfall, and are located in the middle latitudes of the Earth, including eastern North America, Europe, and eastern Asia. Here are some details about the climate, temperature, rainfall, altitude, longitude, peculiarities, important and endemic organisms, and importance of the temperate deciduous forest biome. Climate. The temperate deciduous forest biome has a temperate climate, characterized by 4 distinct seasons. The summers are warm, with an average temperature of around 28 degrees C, 68 degrees F, while winters are cold, with an average temperature of around 08 degrees C, 32 degrees F. The annual precipitation ranges from 75 to 150 cm, 30 to 60 inches, and is evenly distributed throughout the year. Temperature. The temperature in the temperate deciduous forest biome ranges from minus 38 degrees C to 38 degrees C, minus 22 degrees F to 86 degrees F, depending on the season. Rainfall. The annual rainfall in the temperate deciduous forest biome ranges from 75 to 150 cm, 30 to 60 inches, with precipitation occurring throughout the year. Altitude. The temperate deciduous forest biome is found at low to moderate elevations, typically below 1,000 meters, 3,280 feet above sea level. Longitude. The temperate deciduous forest biome is located in the middle latitudes of the Earth, including eastern North America, Europe, and eastern Asia. Peculiarities. One of the peculiarities of the temperate deciduous forest biome is the fact that the trees in this biome shed their leaves annually in response to seasonal changes. This adaptation allows the trees to conserve energy during the cold winter months, and to take advantage of the longer growing season in the summer. Additionally, the soil in the temperate deciduous forest biome is rich in nutrients, due to the accumulation of decomposing leaves and other organic matter. Important and endemic organisms. The temperate deciduous forest biome is home to a wide variety of plant and animal species, many of which are endemic to this biome. Some of the important and endemic organisms found in the temperate deciduous forest biome include American beech Fagus grandifolia, eastern white pine Pinus strabus, white-tailed deer Odocoileus virginianus, black bear Ursus americanus, gray wolf Canis lupus. Importance. The temperate deciduous forest biome is important for a number of reasons. First, it is a major carbon sink, storing large amounts of carbon dioxide in its trees and soil. Additionally, the temperate deciduous forest biome is important for timber production, as many of the trees in this biome are used for building materials and paper production. Finally, the temperate deciduous forest biome is an important habitat for a wide variety of plant and animal species, many of which are endemic to this biome. Temperate boreal forest climate, temperature, rainfall, altitude, longitude, peculiarities, important and endemic organisms and importance. The temperate boreal forest, also known as the taiga, is a biome that is characterized by its coniferous trees, cold temperatures, and low precipitation. It is found in the northern hemisphere, mainly in Canada, Russia, and Scandinavia. Here are some key features of this biome. Climate. The temperate boreal forest has long, cold winters with temperatures that can drop to minus 68 degrees C, minus 76 degrees F. Summers are short and cool, with temperatures rarely rising above 28 degrees C, 68 degrees F. Annual precipitation ranges from 400 to 900 m, with most of it falling as snow in the winter. Altitude and longitude. The temperate boreal forest is found at latitudes between 50 and 60 degrees north, and at altitudes ranging from sea level to around 2,000 meters. Peculiarities. The boreal forest is characterized by its coniferous trees, which are adapted to the harsh climate. These trees have needle-shaped leaves that allow them to conserve water, and they remain green throughout the winter. The forest floor is covered with a layer of acidic soil and mosses, and there are many wetlands and lakes throughout the biome. Important and endemic organisms. The boreal forest is home to a variety of animals, including moose, wolves, bears, lynx, and beavers. Many bird species, such as the bald eagle, osprey, and great horned owl, also make their homes in the boreal forest. Endemic species include the Siberian spruce, the jack pine, and the Siberian larch. Importance: the boreal forest is an important global resource, providing timber, pulp, and other forest products. It is also a vital carbon sink, helping to regulate the Earth's climate by absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. The boreal forest is also home to many indigenous communities who rely on its resources for their way of life. Temperate boreal forest climate: temperature, rainfall, altitude, longitude, peculiarities, important and endemic organisms and importance in detail. The temperate boreal forest is also known as the taiga, and it